Hi, I'm Dr. Kern. I'm one of the emergency and ICU veterinarians here at Windcrest Animal Hospital, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the most common toxins that we see in pets. So I'm going to just go through some of the common things that we see. Before I start that though, I do want to show you this number. This is for the ASPCA Animal Poison Control, and that's 888-426-4435. This is a good resource to have because they can kind of give you an idea of if what your pet got into truly is toxic, and some of the things that your pet gets into we might not see as commonly, and it helps guide our treatment a little bit. So good number to have. So I'm going to start here with one of the most common things that we see, chocolate, and actually cocoa powder is even more serious form of chocolate that they can get into, that they're more likely to have reactions to. So, you know, keep that stuff away from your pets for sure, especially at holiday times. We see it a lot at holidays that people have chocolate around and their pets get into it, and it is toxic. Next up I have on the list, I have nuts. Nuts themselves actually aren't toxic, but I have it here purposely to tell you that you know, that can cause some irritation in your pet's guts, especially it's high fat. High fat can cause some gastrointestinal upset and pancreatitis type issues. So high fat foods and nuts and human foods in general, be a little bit cautious with your pets. Next up I have on the list, I have some raisins here. This is also grapes we worry about, as well as raisins. This is, a lot of people don't know as frequently as they do with chocolate that this is toxic to pets, but grapes and raisins are toxic to your pets. So keep that away. Good thing to know too if you have kids, because kids like to throw things on the ground, and we commonly feed those kind of things to our kids, so don't let them get into that. Next up I have on the list is rat and mouse poison, and these are toxic to pets as well. Important thing to know about this though is that there's different kinds of poisons, so if you have one at home, it's a good idea to keep the box, and if your pet gets into it, bring the box into us, because we need to know exactly what is in there, because different, since they have different ingredients in them that have different mechanisms of action, it changes how we treat. So it's really important to know. Same thing if you have a poison control company come to your house and put down anything, it's good to know what they put down around your house, just in case. Next up on my list, household cleaners. Household cleaners can cause problems in several different ways. If they ingest them, they can cause issues, but also topically. If it spills and your pet walks through it, it can cause some problems on their paw pads, or if they lick it, it can cause some ulcerations in their tongue or mouth. So keep those locked away as well. Next up on my list, things like coffee. Coffee has caffeine in it, and our pets don't process caffeine the same way that we do, so I would definitely keep that in mind as well. Next up on my list, I have some gum. Now, good thing to know about gum, not all gum is toxic, but sugar-free gum can be toxic. We worry about xylitol in pets, which is one of the artificial sweeteners, and especially for people who are diabetic, they tend to have sugar-free things around their house, and that can cause some low blood sugar issues in our pets, as well as potentially some liver issues. So be aware of that. Anything that has xylitol and sugar-free foods and gums and things like that have the potential to have that. Next up on my list, I have alcohol. Alcohol can have effects on pets the same way they do on people, and they will occasionally drink it if they have access to it. Another thing to know, and I don't have a sample of this here, is marijuana. We do have pets that get into things like marijuana, and especially with laws changing the way they are with marijuana, there are some stronger formulations out there that can really have some serious effects in pets. Be aware, especially, you know, marijuana that's baked into goods. We can have a double toxicity if it's in you know, chocolate or brownies or things like that. So keep that away. Next up on my list, I have onions and garlic. Pets are not able to metabolize them the same way that we are. So if you're cooking with those, make sure your pet doesn't have access to them. Then next up on my list, things like medications. So whether they are human medications or your pet's medications for a different pet, or even your pet's medication, make sure you don't leave it around where they can get into it, because even if it's their own medication, they eat enough of it, they can have some problems. But if your pet does get into medications, a good thing to know is to let us know as soon as possible, because the sooner that we can address it, if there is the potential for toxicity, the more that we can do. So definitely call us as soon as possible, or the ASPCA Boards of Control, like I mentioned, is also a good resource to have, so we know if there is the potential for a toxic effect with that. Next thing I have on my list are topical medications, and the reason I have this on my list is that sometimes people have their a prescription medication that they have to rub on their skin, and some of those can be toxic to pets. When they're cuddling with us and they start to lick our skin, they can ingest that and have some toxicity from that, and that's one that's often overlooked because people don't think about it. They've already rubbed it on their skin, they don't think about it anymore, and if their pet licks it, it can cause some issues, so a good thing to be aware of. And then lastly for today, plants. Now this is a fake one, but it's just a reminder for me to tell you that there are some plants and flowers that do have toxic effects in pets. One of the big ones we see is lilies in cats, but there's plenty of other ones. So if you do have plants and flowers in your house, it's good to know what you have. One, so you don't keep anything toxic, or if you do, if your pet gets into it, we know what it is, so we are able to help you the best that we can. So I hope that helped. These are some of the more common pet toxicities that we see, and just in general, we don't want our pets to get into them. So I hope that was helpful to you.